Poison Wind Globadier. Many of the rank and file Skaven soldiers of Clan Skryre are trained in the use of technological devices. The most common of these weapons are spheres of glass or crystal filled with warpstone gas known as Poison Wind Globes. When thrown, the spheres shatter, releasing billowing clouds so lethal that mere skin contact can cause severe pain or even death. Globadiers wear elaborate masks, goggles, and cumbersome breathing devices in order to protect themselves from their own gas, and Clan Skryre are rich enough to equip them with heavier armor than that worn by clan rats. On the battlefield, Poison Wind Globadiers lurk between Skaven lines and await an opportunity to dart forward and lob their deadly missiles. Ah yes, the Poison Wind Globadier. One of the most controversial units ever to be added to Mordheim. I personally have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this thing, as many of you maybe know who have watched the Globadier Brawl League, the first season that is, where I got to play with one. My problem with it is, I love using it, and I hate playing against it. This thing can, on its own, turn the tide of any battle if used correctly. The globes can do so much damage, the healing is incredible, and it is also quite tough to take down at times. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start out on our usual way with its stat line. Now that we have established what a Globadier actually is, let's talk about his stat line and possible builds. For that, I will be using a website called Mordheim City of the Cracked Planner. I'm going to put the links to these two builds that I'm going to show you in the description as well, so you can look at them if you want to. Now, this website allows you to plan a hero like you would like to play. So I'm going to show you a build, or two to be exact, that I like to use on my Globadiers. The first one is the pure poison build. First, let's start with the attributes or the stat line. You're going to go for high agility because it's a Skaven still, so the dodge stance needs to be somewhat good. You're going to go up to strength 3 to allow you to get that extra inventory space, and toughness 9, which is quite high, so he is pretty resilient. You can scrap a lot of the extra agility and put even more points to toughness if you want to, but at that point his agility would be really low, means his dodge wouldn't be that high. But if he never gets into melee combat and just gets shot all the time, this might be something you would consider doing. In terms of metal skills, there is a bit of a difference to your usual Skaven. You're not going to max out your alertness, you're going to max out your intelligence first. That will become handy with some of your skills later on. In terms of his martial skills, you're going to go for a mix of ballistic skills up to 15 to get all your skills, and then accuracy to 14. That will give you a decent crit chance and a really high ballistic skill. So a nice combo to have on a ranged unit. Now, the interesting part, the skills. The first one you will have as standard, and you don't have to level up, is your Poison Globe. This thing is the bread and butter of this character. This is what allows you to be basically a Globadier. These globes can deal quite a bit of damage over time, they ignore armor, and they are a really nice source of AoE damage. So they are your most important tool on the Globadier. You don't really need to talk about them, you just throw them at your enemy, try not to hit your old guys too much, and use them to block off passages. It's really nice. The second one I usually grab on my Globadier, and I usually also put to mastery, is the Infused Globe, which basically allows you to heal for 30 wounds on multiple guys. This can be really good if you are in a longer fight and you can maybe pull out some guys with low HP. You can just heal them back up and pop 3 of these potentially for 90 wounds on multiple characters a turn. This can be a huge swing in power and allow multiple warriors to survive a battle they would otherwise die in. Next thing I want to talk about is Sidestep. Sidestep is a pretty standard thing for most Skaven. It will just allow you to get 2 dodge attempts, which is just nice if you get caught. It's not as powerful on the Globadier as another Skaven because your agility is only 12, so your dodge stance is not that great, but it's still 80% dodge, so it's still always a good thing to grab if you ever get into melee. You just put in your Sidestep and try to survive longer. Now, something I like to roll on the Globadier is the Warp Poison. This allows you to steal away offensive points from your enemy, or reduce the enemy offensive points by just shooting them. This can be really powerful, especially because you will have a lot of stuff I'm going to talk later about that allows you to increase your chance of the poison actually proccing. So this can be a really nice tool to shut down an enemy hero, take away some of his offensive points. Maybe just throw one globe and then shoot him twice with Warp Poison on. This can be a really devastating combo. Now, these passive skills are what makes the Globadier so powerful. Or also what makes his globes powerful. First one is Potent Globes, which you put up to mastery. That will just give them enemy a debuff that reduces their poison resistance by 20%. This is really important because on higher levels, a lot of the tougher guys will have quite high poison resistance, like an Empire Captain, for example. He will have a lot of toughness and a lot of poison resistance. So it's actually not that easy to get the poison to proc on him. This will help out a lot with this. Same with Poison Expert, another 40%. So you at this point have 60% higher chance of the poison getting through, which is really, really good. These two work really well together, and they are what's allowing you to use your Poison Globe and your War Poison to the maximum effect. Something I like to play on my Globadier, since I am going up to Intelligence 15, is Knowledge Mordheim. This will balance out one of his passive skills, which reduces his movement range, which can make him a bit vulnerable to being caught because he's not that fast, but this will balance it out and even give him a little boost on top of it. So it's a really nice thing that I like to get on my Globadier. And the last thing I would pretty much always grab on any ranged unit that uses pistols is Quick Reload, just to get some more strategy, save some strategy points and don't have to spend them all on reloading. It's always a nice thing to have. You can scrap something else like Sidestep if you really want to get it up to rank 2 even, but that's always a bit risky. This setup gives you some defense, a nice mix of offensive skills, or rather enhancing your offensive skills in terms of the globes, but it is lacking any kind of ballistic skills, like we have no Vital Shot, we have no Nerve Shot or anything like this. You are pretty much reliant on your globes and your basic attacks to do most amount of your damage, which can work really well. The only real weak point this build has is that it's not that much in the way of burst damage. You will have trouble like killing someone fast. You excel in long fights where your poison can tick over and over again. You can heal up your allies over and over again. You will have trouble bringing a single enemy down fast with this because the maximum you can do is just shoot it multiple times. You can take away their offensive points, but you will have trouble killing them fast. In terms of equipment, you will obviously running pistols. You can use shurikens, but they're not that great. The shurikens have the advantage that you can shoot more, that you can potentially plot more warp poison, but the pistols are just more damage, so I usually prefer those. Now, in terms of his armor, there are two options. You can have clothing or light armor. If you don't have sidestep and you want to go for more of a just resilient build, light armor would be better, because at that point you won't let dodge anyway, so if you get shot most of the time, the light armor will give you more, save you more wounds basically. If you go with sidestep on higher agility, I would always run clothing because it's just enhancing your dodge stance by a lot on higher quality, and it's just a great thing to have. For the head, I would most likely go with the helmet because some more armor absorption and some resistance. It's just the helmet's just always nice to have. For your enchants, you can go with anything that gives you agility or initiative. Both of them work really well, so just put those on if you can. You can also go for more toughness, or I think there's even one for more poison resistance, but I really prefer just agility one to get up my dodge a bit higher so he's actually safe. And that's pretty much the first build I want to cover. I will post a link to this in the description. And I'm now going to show you a second build that is a bit more ranged focused and a bit less globe focused. Now, for the second build I want to show you, this is a build that is a bit more reliant on ranged damage in the form of shooting enemies and not that much reliant on globes. You still have your globes that can do a lot of damage, but you're a lot less dependent on them. You have a lot more ranged skills. But let's show you the build. First, the stat line is not that much different. You will max your auto alertness and not your intelligence because you don't really need the 15 intelligence. And you will go for a bit more accuracy and a bit less ballistic skill because you don't really need the 15 ballistic skill for anything. The reason for that is because you are not going to get your some of your shit to a rank 2 that you would on the other build. You will still have your infused globe, but it's mostly only for basic. And you will have 2 of these ranged attacks that are pretty versatile if you ask me. Nerve Shot is just a great thing to have. It helps you break down enemy defenses and just makes it a lot easier for you to kill them or to charge them even. Because a big problem that Skaven can have is actually delivering enough damage in melee because you don't have that much melee power in a lot of your cases. You're reliant on crits from some of your heroes and your leader most of the times. So this is just a nice thing to have to break down the enemy stances and makes it a lot easier for the rest of you guys to hit them. and Vital Shot, which is also a nice thing to have on Mastery, because it allows you have a much higher crit chance. With this you have a 40% crit chance, which is pretty decent, and you can fish with for crits with it, basically. Try to stun enemies and do a lot more damage with it. Sidestep, again, pretty basic at this point, you just to have a bit more safety. Poison Expert still, because it doesn't require that much intelligence, and it's still pretty decent to enhance your globes a little bit. It's always a good thing to have. Quick Reload again, this time in Mastery, just because you're more reliant on shooting, so you pretty much need this if you want to move at all with your pistols. And Eagle Eyes also in Mastery to help with the whole armor bypass thing, because globes won't do that much damage, so you need something else to have a chance against heavily armored target like an Empire Captain. So Eagle Eyes will help out with that. For equipments, again, Warped pistols, and I forgot to mention that in the first build, but you would most likely run Reaping Blades as a melee weapon if you need to swap. Light armor for this guy most of the times, because he will, well, you can't just run clothing, but I prefer light armor sometimes on him because it's a bit more reliant to keep you alive against enemy ranged fire, so but both work. Helmet, again, pretty standard, and for your enchants, again, go for, this time actually you can also go for crit chance, crit damage, and also agility or alertness initiative. All of these work. So, with these two builds, I'm going to now talk about how you should actually use your Globadier. So, and I will also put both builds or the links to the website in the description. Now that you know how you should build your Globadier, let's talk a bit about how you should actually play him. The Globadier has a pretty unique playstyle compared to most other characters. His globes give him a very unique strength that other characters simply do not have, besides maybe the Grey Seer with his Warp Mist field. His biggest strength is to block off passages that your enemy then, if he wants to use them, has to get this poison debuff or simply has to avoid. His globes also give him the potential for huge AoE damage if you line it up correctly. If you bog down a big part of the enemy warband in a small area, you can just drop globes on them and do a whole lot of AoE damage. But you also have to keep in mind that your Globadier is, unless you have Knowledge Mordheim, is quite a bit slower than the rest of your Skaven warband, which makes him a bit more vulnerable. He will also most likely get shot a lot, because he is quite short range with his globes, so in the most cases enemy range units will be able to reach him. But still, I think that these pretty small cons, if you ask me, don't even get close to outrage the pros that the Globadier offers your warband. The damage from his poison can stack up into the hundreds over multiple turns on multiple characters. And his healing is also really nice, at least for Skaven that is, because you can just save so many of your valuable warriors, and on Skaven you often have a bit of a morale problem because you just don't have that much of it. So these can help keep guys alive and save your warband from routing, so it's a pretty powerful thing to have. Also, the ballistic skill is very high, so he in most cases has, even in bad situations, a good shot at enemies. So even if they're in melee, the Globadier in most cases will have a good chance of hitting them, which is really nice to have. He's also very versatile in that moment, because he can, like I said, he can still shoot a lot, even if his globes maybe are not in the best situation. For example, if the battlefield is very clustered and all of the enemy warriors are mixed in with your own warriors, and you would most likely hit more of your own dudes than the enemies, you can still shoot them a lot. He still have 9 offensive points and pistols, so you can still do a lot of damage, and with the Warp Poison build, you can still help your guys out a lot. So, would I run a Globadier in this game warband? Absolutely, every time. He is by far one of the most powerful warriors in this game. Would I run him in other warbands? In Undead he's pretty powerful, I would say, because this poison actually does not affect most of your guys, so you can just throw them around more freely, which is really nice to have. I usually don't bring him in Chaos, even though you still can because of how ludicrously powerful he is, but you want to engage the enemy in melee a lot more with Chaos, because that's most likely your biggest strength. And so your gloves will sometimes run to situations where you would hit your own guys more than the enemy, so it's a bit of a weird pick, but he's still really good. So, and he also brings a decent range unit to the Chaos Warband, which besides the Henchman, the Chaos Warband doesn't really have. So yeah, he would still be a decent pick in pretty much every warband he can be brought in. And now for a little bit of a discussion towards the end. In the Bodyhood League, or rather in the Nightly Bodyhood community, there was a lot of discussion about Globadiers being really overpowered. And I would say, for early game, yes, they are pretty overpowered, because their poison damage is just really difficult to handle, and you force your enemy to play a certain way, because he, especially at low levels, he can't ignore the poison. He can't just run through it. The damage will just ramp up, and he will lose guys from it. It's a really tough situation to be in. On higher levels, I would say he's less overpowered, but he's still really good, because the poison still takes, but it's only like 30 damage. And if you have like over 300 hit points, it's not that much of a deal anymore, as it was when you had like 100 hit points. But he's still really good. So after all, would I say he is overpowered? Yeah, a little bit. Which is the reason why he got banned pretty much this season of the tournament. Or not banned, but you can only pick him up at rank 5. Which is a decent change, I would say, because at this point, if you pick him up at level 0 at rank 5 for warband, there will be a lot of high level heroes out there, which can kill him pretty easily, because he's still low level and he has not that much HP. Also, he can still only throw 1 globe, so I would say that's a pretty decent balance change, and at that point I would not say he is overpowered. It's pretty balanced, in my opinion. So, that was my guide video for the Poison Wind Globadier. I know it's been a while since I did the last character guide, but I had a lot to do and I didn't have that much time for YouTube, so I mostly did Let's Plays for a while. But I'm going to try to get back into this with a whole bunch of new editing software I picked up recently in the Humble Bundle sale, which is really awesome. You got like so many different programs for really little money, so I picked most of them up and I'm really happy with them. This is the first video I tried to edit at Sony Vegas 14 and I hope it turned out alright. So, your feedback is very much welcome, so if there's anything you would like to see changed or see me do differently, please let me know in the comments. And otherwise, have a great day and have fun with your Globadier. Bye.